how to eat. Now, when I say that, you're probably wondering, oh, what foods do I eat? How much to eat? All these different things. I'm going to teach you something far more powerful, because food is different. Food isn't just fuel. In reality, it is, but we, as humans, can form beliefs. We have a prefrontal cortex, which means we can imagine things. And what we imagine and what really happens, there's really no difference. In the scientific literature, the phrase it's referred to as thought-driven physiology. And basically what this means is you can think about something that will never happen. But if you do it clearly and intensely enough, you will have the same physiological response. And we know this is true by watching movies. Have you ever watched a movie and felt inspired? Have you ever watched a movie and felt scared? Like, think of it. Have you ever felt a movie and felt as joyous and excited? Yeah, because we're imagining that. But we are playing movies in our mind non-stop, and it's creating how we feel. These movies are often subconscious, and we call them beliefs. Beliefs are the software of our mind, and we all have beliefs about food. We have cultural beliefs, and we have beliefs that are personal in nature, like with certain foods, like I don't like this, or these types of foods make me fat, these types of foods are good, these types of foods are evil. And what I want to talk to you about today is really a simple way of reconnecting with your intuition, with your gut instinct of what you need to eat and how much. But it's a reconnection with something that's already there and has always been there. And so let's start with this. You've heard the phrase, you are what you eat. That's not completely true. The father of functional medicine, Dr. Jeffrey Bland, told this to me probably 25 years ago now. And what it was is, you are not what you eat. You are what your body can digest and absorb. And so what you eat each day literally becomes the new cells in your body. And so when you think about it, you got to ask yourself a better question when it's time to eat. Instead of saying, what do I feel like? What am I in the mood for? Ask the question is like, what does my body need? What would serve me? What would energize me? What would make me feel great, not just when I eat it, but hours afterwards? What will serve me weeks or months from now when I look in the mirror and when I exercise? What is it? So nothing tastes as good as fit feels. I remember I was in a gym in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I was walking out. They had like a little cafe there, and that was on a sign right out the door. And I just thought that was brilliant. I've heard Arnold Schwarzenegger also say this, but it's a great thing to remind yourself. Nothing tastes as good as fit, healthy, lean, strong, energized feels. And so you are not what you eat. You are what your body can digest and absorb. So what is digestion? I'm going to walk you through the process so you have an understanding of the mechanisms that must occur. Now, if you want optimal digestion, it all starts with your emotional state when you eat. So if you're stressed in a hurry, you're in some sort of fear-based emotion, you're likely to overeat about 40% more food than your body actually needs because you're not present. So the first step is to come back to the present moment. So just take a moment and breathe. And the best type of breath is called what I call a Buddha belly breath. So it's a 3-breath meditation. Yes, it's only 3 breaths. That's all you need. And that's enough to do a couple things. And I'll explain how to do it momentarily. But what we want is we want the blood flow shunted, redirected to our digestive tract. When we're in fear, when we're in survival mind, what we call the lamb around here, the lamb mind, we're in fight or flight. to some degree. And that blood flow is being shunted to the muscles, to the extremities, and away from the digestive tract, which means we're going to have poor digestion. Now, why is this important? Well, we already talked about you are what your body can digest and absorb, but also if the blood flow is not, if you're not centered, if you're not present, you're going to overeat, and it's going to move you away from your goals and feeling your best. So what are these Buddha belly breaths? Well, most people breathe with their chest. So if you're walking through the woods, you turn the corner and there's a bear, you go, oh! And you're like where your clavicle is, your upper chest rises. And this is by design. This is how amazing the human body is. In the upper lobes of your lungs, when you breathe up in the chest, you have fight or flight receptors, stress receptors that get you amped up. And then now you're ready to fight or flight so you can survive. Now, if you watch a baby breathe, and a lot of times the baby will breathe and you're looking like, are they breathing? And you have to watch their belly because they breathe only with their belly. They haven't been taught to suck it in. And so when their belly's moving, you're breathing through the lower lobes of the lungs, and there are calming receptors. And when you're in a place of feeling centered, a bunch of things are happening that are good for your health. But hormonally, what's happening is you're producing more of the hormones that regenerate the body. And so how do you do these 3 Buddha belly breaths? Well, place one hand on your heart in the middle of your chest and one on your belly. And when you inhale through your nose. And when you inhale, your belly will come outward, but your chest will not move. Then exhale out your mouth, and your belly will go in, but there'll be no movement at your chest. The intention is to be present and get in a state of heartfelt gratitude. You can just be grateful for the moment, just to be able to breathe. You could be grateful for your heart beating. You could be grateful for the food that is going to nourish your body and rebuild you and regenerate you so that you can give more of what you want to do in life. But you want to create the emotional state of being where you can optimize your digestion, your absorption, and assimilation. And you'll get more out of every bite of fuel you put in. Now, when you're in a hurry, what's going to happen? Well, you're going to be numbed in a way. You're disconnected from the guidance system. You're just shoveling it in because you're trying to soothe yourself. You're trying to you're trying to deal with the stress by eating through flavor. And so flavor is a side effect. Fuel is the purpose. Fuel and energy. That's what we want. We want to feel good so we can feel, and give our best to those we love, serve, and appreciate. That's your intent when you eat. You eat completely differently. Now, over the next few months, I'm going to start doing a teaching on specific foods so that, because when you know what's actually in foods, like I've noticed when I eat, I'm thinking of all these things I've learned. Like, okay, this food, I'm eating broccoli. Broccoli is a cruciferous brassica vegetable. It helps remove benzene, air pollution from the lungs. It reduces your risk of 8 different types of cancers by 50%. Even a small amount makes a big difference. It's like, whoa, like that blows my mind. So when I'm eating it, I'm thinking about that. I'm not thinking of what it tastes like. I'm thinking about, wow, this is the taste of life. That's what I'm thinking about. And so we become the stories we tell ourselves again and again. We paint the world around us through our thoughts. And those thoughts, those stories we tell, create our emotions. And our emotions cause us to do certain things and avoid other things. And if we're in fear-based emotions, that is where every mistake, every regret is born. So emotional mastery and mental mastery, that is the key skill every human who wants to live greatly with no regrets needs. And it starts with these small things, like breathing. Take these 3 Buddha belly breaths. In the nose, out the mouth. How long do they take? About 5 seconds on the inhale And 5 seconds on the exhale is standard. You can extend it if you want, but it's not about getting the perfect numbers. It's about creating this state of being. And so when you go through this, before every meal, we're gonna pair this up with every meal. And what you're gonna do is take a moment, create a state of heartfelt gratitude, and take those 3 Buddha belly breaths. And that will bring you back home, back to your center. And that's going to improve your digestion, your absorption, your assimilation. Now, when you chew your food, that's the next step. Now, some people say you got to chew 10 times, some people say 30 times. Now, there's different types of foods require more chewing or less chewing. So what are we looking for and why? Well, we're looking for you to chew the food enough to where it's not lumpy and chunky. And this will make perfect sense momentarily when you understand the process of digestion and absorption. So let's say you chew your food and you got to that point. Now you swallow it, goes through your esophagus, through the cardiac sphincter. It's like a valve at the top of your stomach. It's in your stomach. There's stomach acid, there's pancreas, there's all kinds of enzymes. I won't get into the details here, but I'll keep it simple. And the stomach acid is powerful. The line of your stomach is replaced every several days. And so it has to, because it eats away the lining of the wall. You can dissolve a nail in your stomach acid. Think how remarkable that is, that you have something in your body that is that acidic and that important, because if you don't have that, you're gonna have a lot of problems because you got to absorb nutrients. And so let's say everything went great. You have sufficient stomach acid, the enzymes are there, pepsin's there for protein, and then it goes through the pyloric sphincter and into the first part of the small intestine. It's called the duodenum. This is where 90% of absorption takes place. So this is critical. And digestion, you can see right now, digestion is, I don't know if you've ever seen the firecrackers that are all attached. And if one doesn't go off, the next one doesn't go off. It's a chain reaction. That's the way digestion is. So you can see if you're in a stressed state, you're watching the news or something like that, and you're gonna start shoveling food in. That's gonna affect your digestion. You're not gonna chew it very much because you're in that sped up state. And the food's gonna be chunky when it hits the stomach. And then if you don't have enough nutrients and not enough stomach acid, you can't break it down as much. And then it goes into this duodenum where 90% of absorption takes place. Now, if you did everything cool and you chewed it up, it should be almost liquid at this point, like a paste. And what's gonna happen is the nutrients are gonna be pulled across the lining of the small intestine into the bloodstream to carry out its function. Now, if the food is still chunky because something upstream isn't working properly, it's gonna aggravate the lining of the small intestine and it could damage it. So the body, of course, in its brilliance and magnificence, has a way of protecting itself. And so it will secrete mucus along the line of that, so it can't be absorbed. That's the downside, but it doesn't damage the small intestine, so that will as a coating, a lining. But the problem is, if that occurs regularly, you're not absorbing as many nutrients as you need to, more than likely, right? Now, the rest of the digestive tract, with the small intestine and the large intestine, it's pulling water out. And as it pulls the water out, it solidifies the stool. And so when someone says they have a healthy stool, it's solid. Whenever that process happens too quickly, water hasn't been pulled out, so it comes out liquid form, diarrhea, right? So now you have an understanding of what's happening in the body. So without going into any other details here, look at the process. First step in digestion and absorption and getting the most out of every bite, every drink of food is to be calm, centered, poised, state of gratitude with an undercurrent of joy, so to speak. This would be called the zone when you work with athletes or you're an athlete yourself. There's this place where it just seems kind of timeless. Everything feels easy to you. Even difficult things feel easy. Now we can create this state. And what would happen if you did this each time you ate? Would you get better at it? Would you be able to command it at will? Exactly. Same thing we do with training. You put yourself in the state of being. You're summoning the lion, the lioness, the highest and best part of you. And if you do this repetitively again and again and again, it becomes home. It becomes your default. Stress is a thing that only visits occasionally, and you shoot away like a gnat or a mosquito. It has no power over you because you have done the work daily. And so you get yourself in state, take these 3 Buddha breaths, and you get clear on what this is. You're gonna create that undercurrent of joy. It's like, oh man, I'm so happy and grateful for this food, for this nourishment. It's gonna give me the energy, the health, the vitality, the radiant health, so that I can be, feel, and give my best to those I love, serve, and appreciate, and have no regrets. And then as you eat, though, you want to make sure you're not getting pulled in different directions if you can. Now, I understand this life isn't always optimal, but just keep in mind that you want to stay centered, stay calm when you eat. Don't get all worked up, because blood flow will happen what? It will be shunted, it would move away from the digestive tract. Now you're going to have suboptimal digestion. So here's your homework. Each time you eat, manage your state. Calm, centered poise, heartfelt gratitude with an undercurrent of joy. Smile, stand up with good posture. If you're sitting down, have good posture, right? Breathe. Don't watch television or anything like that. Don't be distracted, be present. That is what we need. The world is too distracted, and your attention, what you focus on, is your spiritual currency. That is why social media companies give it to you, quote, for free, because they are looking at what you place your attention on, and they're selling your data. There's massive value in that for them. That's why they have so much money, right? That's why they sell ads. They're studying your psychology. But don't give that away. Take command of your attention and do it one training session at a time, one meal at a time. Stay centered. Take 3 Buddha belly breaths, the 3-breath meditation. That's all you need. Chew your food to where there's no lumps in it. Have an inner smile as you eat. That's from an old book, Psycho-Cybernetics, Dr. Maxwell Maltz. I'll teach you more about that in the future. But have an inner smile. You don't have to like cheese it up while you're chewing food. That would be a little creepy, but but funny. and then stay in that state as your body processes it. And then when you're done, move a little bit, go for a walk. And that will have other benefits as well. But the new habit is to know that digestion absorption is of utmost importance. What you eat, you become, but it depends on how well your digestion absorptions. You will get more out of every bite, every drink, if you stay centered, poised, stay grateful, with an undercurrent of joy, with an inner smile on. Take your 3 Buddha breaths, and then let the magic happen. So that's your homework, my friends. I hope this is helpful. Well, I know it's helpful, but if you put it into action. You see, a lot of people love to learn, but they don't put it into action. And Napoleon Hill wrote in The Laws of Success, all the way back in the late 1920s, that knowledge is not power. Only applied knowledge is power. And when you have knowledge, you learn something, and you put it into action, that is called wisdom. And so it's not just about learning, it's about practicing. That's where mastery comes from. And mastery occurs in the present moment. It's not an outcome. You never achieve the highest level. There's always room for improvement. So each day, did you give your best? And if you did, and it's going to look different on different days, depending on the circumstances. If you gave your best, maybe that's what success is for you. But get real clear and ask yourself this question often. What would need to happen today for me to feel successful, happy, fulfilled, and victorious? And write down a few things. Get clear on how you win the game of life, one day at a time. No lambs, only lions. You tap into the real you.
but you have to retrain yourself. The way you retrain yourself is you wake your ass up in the morning and you say, I am here for a reason and a purpose. And it's bigger than my moods. It's bigger than the difficulties of the day. I am here to live like a lion, not the fear of a lamb.